Hello, this is Mr. White. We are in 7th grade science, chapter 3, lesson 4, evolution and classification. My Planet Diary. If it looks like a duck. The first scientist to see the pelt of a platypus thought it was a joke. Could a four-legged, duck-billed, egg-laying mammal exist? How had it evolved? Native people from Australia believe that the first platypus was born when a water rat mated with a duck. But scientists put the platypus into a new group of egg-laying mammals. Then, many years later, scientists began to argue. Had the platypus really evolved later, with younger marsupials such as kangaroos? Would the platypus have to be reclassified? Scientists studied its DNA and discovered that the platypus was in the right place. How are evolution and classification related? When Linnaeus developed his classification system, some people thought that species never changed. In 1859, a British naturalist named Charles Darwin published an explanation for how species could change over time. Recall that the process of change over time is called evolution. Darwin thought that evolution occurs by means of natural selection. Natural selection is the process by which individuals that are better adapted to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce than other members of the same species. As understanding of evolution increased, biologists changed how they classify species. Scientists now understand that certain organisms may be similar because they share a common ancestor and an evolutionary history. The more similar the two groups are, the more recent the common ancestor probably is. Today's system of classification considers the history of a species. Species with similar evolutionary histories are classified more closely together. Branching tree diagrams. Two groups of organisms with similar characteristics may be descended from a common ancestor. A branching tree diagram, like the one in Figure 1, shows probable evolutionary relationships among organisms and the order in which the specific characteristics may have evolved. Branching tree diagrams begin at the base with the common ancestor of all organisms in the diagram. Organisms are grouped according to their shared, derived characteristics. Characteristics lower on the branching tree probably developed before characteristics higher on the tree. A shared, derived characteristic is a trait, such as fur, that the common ancestor of a group had, and passed on to its descendants. Organisms to the right of the fur label all have this shared, derived characteristic. Determining evolutionary relationships. How do scientists determine the evolutionary history of a species? One way is to compare the structures of organisms. Scientists can also use information about the chemical makeup of the organism's cells. Sometimes unrelated organisms evolve similar characteristics because they evolved in similar environments, like organisms that move through water or eat similar foods. Because the organisms perform similar functions, their body structures may look similar. Look at Figure 3. The process by which unrelated organisms evolve characteristics that are similar is called convergent evolution. When studying the chemical makeup of organisms, sometimes new information is discovered that results in reclassification. For example, skunks and weasels were classified in the same family for 150 years. When scientists compared nucleic acids from the cells of skunks and weasels, they found many differences. These differences suggested that the two groups are not that closely related. As a result, scientists reclassified skunks into a separate family.